Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DeJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. How do you feel about public speaking? Just in a conference room of your peers, maybe over Zoom, or maybe on a stage in front of 100, 200, 1,000 of your employees. Do you get excited, or does your stomach flip just thinking about it? Ever wonder how someone like John DeJulius or Dave Murray can command the attention of an entire room? There are some tricks to the trade. And if you'd like to learn them, John DeJulius and Dave Murray will be hosting a 2-day workshop on presentation skills. You'll walk away with an understanding of how to engage with your audience, how to be a better storyteller, and we'll have a lot of fun practicing and giving feedback to each other. For more information, contact Claudia at thedejuliusgroup.com or visit thedejuliusgroup.com for upcoming training and events.
Welcome, revolutionaries, to episode 156 of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DeJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DeJulius Group. This episode is a pre-recorded presentation by me on how you can become a better presenter as a business leader, whether selling to a customer, training employees, interviewing potential employees, or presenting to any audience. The way you present will have all the difference in the world. Before we get to that, let's talk about what's happening in customer experience in the news. For the last several months, if you follow me, whether it be on podcast or my blogs, I have been researching the hell out of artificial intelligence and how it will impact businesses in the future, and more importantly, customer and employee experience. So here's some of it. By improving the customer experience through AI, employee satisfaction can increase. While artificial intelligence is already improving the customer experience, at the same time, it could dramatically improve the employee satisfaction over the next decade. How? Tedious tasks that once took customer service agents hours upon hours to complete, be it boring data entry or replying to repetitive questions, will be regulated to technology. There are numerous ways in which AI will impact the employee experience and boost employee satisfaction, in turn, helping them create a best-in-class customer experience. Artificial intelligence will make the role of a customer service agent far more rewarding and enjoyable. Some predict. Some of the biggest factors that make employees frustrated, unhappy, includes tasks filled with monotonous repetition and too much time spent info searching across numerous systems. Harold Henn, CEO of Marketing Resultant, points out that AI can support employees by eliminating tedious tasks. AI-based internal search systems will find relevant information in a fraction of the time. AI chatbots will handle those simple, monotonous tasks in real time, freeing the employees from the tedious of repetition and creating a more positive employee experience. So how can AI help with demanding, even angry customers? Well, this is another example of how AI can reduce employee stress even when dealing with angry or demanding customers. Employees feel pressured from customers to find necessary information as fast as possible. And during peak days and seasonal rushes, answering the phones, answering the same questions hundreds of times a day doesn't make an employee happy. AI will eliminate most, if not all, of these transactions, such as delivering status questions, freeing up customer service reps to focus on the more complex, rewarding tasks that require human attention and a deeper understanding of customer needs. In her blog, How AI Will Improve the Employee Experience This Decade, Kayla Krowski shares the capabilities of AI can go far beyond automating simple repetitive tasks if we consider AI can work together with humans to create a team of what essentially are super employees. She continues, improving the employee experience can boost your business in a big way. It's clear that AI can make employees happier. By taking away the repetitive task, AI can work together with humans to augment their work, making them faster and more effective at every task. So AI can boost employee engagement. It can allow team members to bring their best traits to the workplace with less focus on routine tasks, leaving more time for solving customers' issues and genuinely being there for them on an emotional level. Employees will bring their best of their humanity to each customer interactions. In theory, at least, this scenario will work well for everyone, particularly frontline customer service employees. Doing more with less. Artificial intelligence can help frontline employees be more efficient and productive, which potentially means less staff will be needed. For example, bots functioning as therapists could mitigate the critical shortage of mental health professionals and provide support to individuals who otherwise lack access to care. Agent assistance benefits from AI by helping agents understand customers' needs in today's multi-channel contact center. AI, artificial intelligence, sifts through knowledge base during calls to find relevant information, which is then displayed on the agent's screen. This not only saves time, but also reduces costs by streamlining interactions and decreasing average handling times. Chatbots are not only beneficial for customers, but also for businesses, reducing the resolution time for simple queries and cutting costs by up to 30%. A PricewaterhouseCoopers study found that 30% of business leaders reported decreased workload thanks to chatbots. Let's say you are calling a healthcare system who have hundreds of different physicians, therapists, and service providers. AI can recognize the patient by caller ID, pull up their history for that agent, display the service provider that patient typically sees, and immediately show dates and times available to schedule an appointment. Morgan Stanley, a prominent financial institution in the U.S., has implemented an AI-driven chatbot for internal use to enable employees to quickly access corporate knowledge. This tool aggregates information from multiple sources, offering workers a centralized location to find the necessary data. AI can also listen in on a customer's call and act as a search engine to a company's database, website, and their product service offerings, immediately populating potential answers to clients' questions that the agent can pull from. The impact of automation cannot be denied. There's no arguing that machines and AI are faster, cheaper, and more efficient, and they make fewer mistakes than humans. When a bank started using chatbots to handle more than 1.5 million claim requests each year, it found that the work of the 85 bots were equal to that of the output of 200 full-time employees. Human employees, I might add, at only 30% of the cost. We will be right back after this.
People don't come out of college with a CXO degree. That's why the Customer Experience Executive Academy was created. When you're tasked with designing, leading, and managing the customer's experience, there's a lot at stake. We know you want to make a difference in your organization, and we also know how difficult it is to do that when you aren't sure what to tackle first. The Customer Experience Executive Academy gives enrollees the tools to efficiently create an impact as a customer experience leader. Our graduates are taught a simple framework that allows them to create customized solutions within their business. You'll implement systems throughout the year-long program while learning and sharing best practices with your fellow classmates. For details on how you can enroll, contact Claudia at thedejuliusgroup.com or schedule a call at tdg.click/Claudia.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Today, you are going to be hearing from the DeJulius Group's President, Chief Revolution Officer, and best-selling author, John DeJulius, on presentation skills to get ahead in the corporate world. And now I am going to turn it over to John.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hello, revolutionaries. I'm excited to talk about presentation skills to get ahead in the corporate world. You do not have to be a professional presenter to dramatically improve your presentation skills and move people, rally a team, or whoever your audience is. Your audience might be, you might be in sales, right? And the external client customer. You might be a recruiter trying to get potential candidates to come work for your brand. You might be a trainer, and you might be training your employees from orientation to technical training. You might be a teacher. It all is the same, what I'm about to share with you. So what are poor presentations? Lack of training, lack of structure, lack of confidence. This is, all three of these are big, but lack of confidence is probably the biggest one I find when we're working with corporate leaders, because they just get in their head that they don't like speaking in front of people, so to speak. Not organized, not prepared, kind of all over the place, which leads to the, lack of training, lack of structure. And I just said it, filler words. Here's the things you got to remember. Everyone is nervous. Be passionate. And if you're passionate, that will take care of 80%. You also have to remember you are the expert at your topic. No one knows more than you to the people you're speaking to. Again, if it's sales, if it's training, if it's recruiting about the brand. And everyone publicly speaks every day, right? One-on-one Zoom calls to each other, in a presentation, out socially. Lean into your personality, be you, and create your own unique styles. Which careers do you find the best speakers in? Typically, it's coaches, any sport, politicians, CEOs, comedians, and today the new category is social influencers, right? And so what do these 5 careers, if you will, have in common? They have to rally a group of people to a common vision and get people to see it, get people to buy into it, get people to be engaged. A comedian has to get you to be in the story and see it and literally transform yourself. So, what makes a great presentation? That it's engaging to the audience. You disarm them. Everyone in every presentation, in any type of presentation. Remember, I'm not talking about being a professional speaker. I'm talking about in any presentation that's being had, even if it's one-on-one. Some people are like, who is he? Who is she? I've heard it before. So you want to disarm the audience. You want to disarm the people you're speaking to by sharing that you have some knowledge of their situation, some knowledge of their pain, some knowledge of what they're going through. So the audience can relate to the speaker. Speaker understands the audience condition, is a great storyteller, inspires action. Favorite quote of mine when it comes to speaking is, if you can persuade, inspire, ignite the imagination of others, you will be unstoppable, irresistible, and irreplaceable. Love that. And if you're a leader, that's our job. That is our job, is to, unless, we're transforming all the AI and getting rid of labor, but even customers, right? You got to get them to buy in to your brand and product. So, what does capture the attention of the audience, takes them on an emotional journey, keeps them on the edge of their seats, wanting to know what happens next, transports them into what you're talking about. And the answer is storytelling. And remember, when I talk about your audience, it might be one person, it might be 6 people. It's whoever your audience is. Again, sales, recruiting, that could be one-on-one interviewing, whatever it may be. So if nothing else you walk away from today, become a better storyteller. Okay. Have your own signature stories in your back pocket that you always go to. You're probably already a good storyteller. You just don't realize it. Like if you're with your kids and you're telling stories about what it was like when you were young and how you had to walk up both ways to school, uphill both ways, barefoot in the snow, right? You're a storyteller. If you're around, with friends and you're talking about how you met your significant other and how she didn't like you at first. Truth is that's what I had. It has to apply to the content and the audience. You just can't have a good story. You can't, have a good joke. You can't say, a rabbi and a priest walk into a bar, right? You can if it applies to the content and your audience. Details make the story. Paint the picture. So I'm actually there. I'm at the bar. I'm at, wherever, you're making me feel. Tell me about. Need plenty of plots and twists to the story, right? If you talk about a story of how you met your significant other, I met her. It was love at first sight. I asked her out. We fell in love, got engaged, got married, had 3 kids, and grew old together. Well, that's a nice story. It's a boring story. You got to have that. Yeah, she thought I was a jerk at first and she wouldn't go out with me. And, so it has to have high lows. You have to have a villain, victim, and hero. And this is the most important element to storytelling. This is the most important element to presentation. So the power of storytelling is the best story wins. Right? The best story will make you the best presenter. You don't have to be a professional speaker to tell stories. We tell stories daily, not just business, but socially at home. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm putting my presenter hat on, even though I'm presenting right now, but in my line of work, which is customer experience, I might say, don't punish 98% of your customers for what you're afraid 2% might do. All right. But I'll still lead with that. But to really drive home that point, I'm going to tell a story to make this really resonate with my audience. It might be my team. It might be, other companies. Okay. So here's my story. If it gets to me, it's free. I've always had that in my company. When I started my salons 31 years ago, when I started my consulting business 25 years ago, it's always, if it gets to me, it's free. And what that means is if someone has to call me up, email me about something that happened and wasn't taken care of, I'm not going to argue with them, whatever they want, because by that time they're pretty upset. So long time ago, this is probably 25 years ago, I had a guest from the salon and spa call me up. And she said, Mr. DeJulius, I am a client of your Solon location. And I was in recently and the hairdresser got hair color on my suit jackets. And I was like, oh gosh. And she said, I tried to get it cleaned and it wouldn't come out. And the suit is worthless without the jackets. And they no longer sell the suits. So I apologized. I said, send you a check for the suit. And she was shocked. And she said, you don't want to see it? I said, no. She goes, you don't want to know how old it is? I said, no, not necessarily. Not necessary. And so she gives me her address. We hang up. I look her up and I see that she's been coming for 3 or 4 years. She comes about 7 times a year. She's never referred anyone. So I send her a check for the suit, which is about $250. This is in the 90s. And I send her a gift certificate for her inconvenience, like a $50 gift certificate to the spa. And then a year later, I was curious if we retained her. And so I looked her up And I was really happy to see that she came in another 7 or 8 times in the ensuing 12 months. I was really happy until I clicked on her referrals and saw that in the ensuing 12 months, she referred 18 new customers to John Roberts Spa. Where can I spend $250 in advertising and get 18 new customers? So now I tell all my employees to get color on everyone's clothes. Okay, so you could see how that story probably has a bigger impact than just, giving a quote or, I love this, data tells, but stories sell, right? I could tell you, or you could tell your team or whoever your audience is, that 62% of customers who have an issue that is recovered well by the company become more loyal. Okay, that's a good statistic, but telling a story like that really drives home the point. Another big mistake that corporate world does is really bad PowerPoint. And I a lot of times when I speak, I follow corporate speakers, CEOs, and their PowerPoints are just miserable. And this was a hard thing for me to learn, 25, 28 years ago. But try to limit your text to no more than 6 words, as I'm going to break this rule on this slide. But normally in my presentation, you'll see a quote is probably the only words I have. Everything else is a visual. Everything else, and when I say use graphic, I mean use images. And you could almost use an image in place of everything. Never read your notes or slides. Don't always have to use slide. Think of the last comedian or any comedian you've ever seen. They don't use PowerPoint. And they're still really effective. You're still transported to being in that story. So this was a way someone introduced me one time, and they literally read every bullet point, and it robbed the passion of the presenter. Don't even know if he had any, because he was literally, I want to introduce John DeJulius. He is considered, and he took this right from my bio at the time. Versus, since that example, this is what we give people to introduce me. And, screw the bio. And you don't have to say anything. You can say our next presenter is John DeJulius. And it's obvious he's written some books. It's obvious he works with some really good companies. And you don't even have to say that. You could just say why we brought John in. So you could see the use of imagery over just bullets.
If you enjoy what you're learning on the Customer Service Revolution podcast, you'll love our weekly newsletter, The E-Service. It's full of great customer experience tips and stories, includes special offers, webinars, and more each week. To sign up, head to tdg.click/e-service. That's tdg.click/e-service, ESERVICE. Enter your preferred email address, and you can look forward to great advice from John in your inbox every Wednesday.
Another big thing that every presenter struggles with is curse of knowledge. And curse of knowledge is you're the expert. You know what you're talking about. And unless you're talking to experienced people in your industry on your team, they will not know. You have to talk to whoever you're talking to like they're in 7th grade. Like literally think that. And that's not an insult to your audience, but they don't know what you know. They don't know your terms. So often, we at the DeJulius Group being guilty of when we're talking to our clients of talking about CX, CSAT, NPS, and just rattling off KPIs, ROX. And these are all terminology we use every day, and people in the customer experience industry know, but I don't know, you might not have known any or a lot of those things. So even words and terms, you have to make sure if the layman does not understand your term, you're going to lose them. Okay, I want to get into this. Here's really the critical piece, the 5 elements of a great presentation. Whether your presentation is 10 minutes, an hour, or it's an 8-hour workshop training, okay? You still have to have these pieces in there. And I'm going to go into each of them. The icebreaker, then you got to set the stage. You have to have the proof for content, which is like the biggest part, the call to action, and then the strong close. So let's start off with the icebreaker, right? It's the audience audition to get the audience to like you, build credibility. So, this is what we ask when we do our workshop after someone gives their icebreaker. Everyone in the audience has to say, did the speaker grab your attention, keep you engaged, and make you want to listen to more? Did it apply to the topic? Did it add credibility to the speaker, his or her opening icebreaker? And are you more interested in the topic than originally? So I'm going to show you like a 50-second opening icebreaker on one of the top TED Talks of all time by Dan Pink.
I need to make a confession at the outset here. A little over 20 years ago, I did something that I regret, something that I'm not particularly proud of, something that in many ways I wish no one would ever know, but that here I feel kind of obliged to reveal. In the late 1980s, in a moment of youthful indiscretion, I went to law school. Now, in America, law is a professional degree. You get your university degree, then you go on to law school. And when I got to law school, I didn't do very well. To put it mildly, I didn't do very well. I, in fact, graduated in the part of my law school class that made the top 90% possible. Thank you.
Love that. So, exactly. Did he engage? Did he endear you? Do you want to listen to more? And that's what an icebreaker does. The second part is setting the stage, right? Creating pain, discomfort, the crisis. Why do they need to hear this? How does it apply to them? And then, you want to go into sources, facts, and research. So what we ask in our workshop, and we also, do this with companies. They bring us to help their on site to help their leaders become better speakers. But did the speaker introduce the villain? And this is the biggest part of the storytelling. And storytelling has to be all those. Dan Pink just told a great, quick story. All right. Did the audience, you, feel uneasy, uncomfortable with the way things are? Right? Did it apply to you? Do you feel a need to make a change, want to, need to? And does the speaker have expertise to back up their claim, research, data, and going on? So every story, every speech, every book, every movie has three things, three characters: the villain, the victim, and the hero. And these you got to have, and they're a lot easier than you think. Okay, so in this stage 2 part of the speech, this is where you introduce the villain and the victim. And the villain can be way things are that we have to change depending on, listen, if you're recruiting an employee, the villain is their past job. And we're not knocking on a company, but you might be talking about, and you might be telling your own story that, before I came to this company, I went from company to company and it was just a job. And I felt like I was trading hours for dollars. And, people I was working with when I started left within 3 months, right? That's the villain that a lot of new employees or potential employees can relate to. And then, what's the victim, right? The victim is could be the person you're talking to. It could be their family because of the inconsistency of the job. I do this with customer service. We do this with every topic. So I'm going to share one with you that I talk about because my third business that I started is Believe in Dreams, which is about making dreams come true for disadvantaged kids. So here's the villain, if you will. What the number one predictor of a child's future success is. It is a numeric number. Some of you might have guessed that it is their high school or college GPA. Others might have guessed it is where they rank in their graduating class or the their SAT, ACT scores. Believe it or not, none of those are the highest predictor of a child's future success. Are you ready for what it is? The number one predictor of a child's future success is the zip code they're born into. Yes, the zip code a child is born into is the most accurate predictor of their future success. Whether they will graduate from high school, go to college, let alone graduate from college, what type of college, and how much money they will earn over the course of their lifetime. Okay, so that's the victim, right? That's the villain, and it's a zip code. And, it's hard to make a zip code a villain, but it's the circumstances. So if we're talking about believe in dreams, right? The victim now is not only the child born in the zip code, but, what he or she's future looks like. That if they can overcome that is, that they grew up to be positive citizens contributing. Maybe they're future doctors and lawyers and politicians and whoever that might be. And they have children and they impact the community. Those are all the potential victims. Okay. So now you come to the third piece, the proof, right? Where you share the best practices, the success stories, the case studies, prove that it is possible and the solutions to how. So what we ask in our workshop after the attendees to give this part of their presentation, and you give it twice. The first time you give it, and then, it's kind of like being at America's Got Talent, okay? Or whatever Simon Cowell's on, all right? You get feedback, and then you get to redo it again. So you're dramatically better. But did the speaker share the how-to? Did the speaker introduce the hero, right? This is a different section, right? Last section, it was the villain and victim. Share proof, best practices, and case study. Do you feel it's possible to do it yourself? So let me get back into John DeJulius, customer experience guru, whatever. And so I'll talk about the enemy, the villain. The enemy of a great customer experience is inconsistency. What every company suffers from is employee roulette. Employee roulette is when the level of experience your clients receive is dependent on which employee they encounter. Now, I know everyone listening is thinking, oh, God, we're guilty of that, right? We all are. It's just how much. So we got to attack that. So the solution to this, one of the solutions, is having your customer bill of rights, having a short list of nevers and always that you train. They become your non-negotiables, that no matter who as a customer I come in contact with, there's certain things they never do and always do. So in my presentation, in my workshop, I go into detail on each one and why that's so important. And then we might workshop what their nevers and always are. So that's, revealing the conquering hero. And some tips with this is the hero is never you, me, the presenter. It's typically not even the product or service we're selling, right? That's not the hero. It's the audience, right? It's who you're talking to. It's in Believe in Dreams case, sharing the villain. It's now, if you help, if you donate, if you write a check, if you sponsor, if you, volunteer, we can reduce that statistic and have, the zip code not determine a child's future success. If, the audience, if the leaders in the customer experience space, the example I gave, if you create your own non-negotiables, and train every new employee, train every existing employee, keep it top of mind awareness, audit, celebrate, coach it. And you can say that we would never do this and always do this, and it's actually happening. The hero becomes the leader who's marching it. It becomes the employees who are delivering a consistent experience. All right. Now, number 4 and number 5 are typically get blown off, and that's a call to action. I mean, so you've shared what's wrong, you've shared how to make it right, but now you got to ask for the commitment. So in the workshop, we'll ask the attendees after the presenter, did his or her portion of the call to action, did the speaker make you feel like you need to do this ASAP, right? With a sense of urgency, run out of this class, this training, and this interview and apply for the job or buy the product, right? Whatever that might be. Did they give you a specific call to action? Do you feel that you have a plan to follow? So one of ours could be in our presentation, the 6 steps to creating a customer service revolution. Let me recap it, what I just shared with you, okay? Get your team the Customer Service Revolution book. Everyone on your team should read this. The second thing is appoint a customer experience leader. The third thing, and these are all recaps of what I shared in greater detail in my typical presentation, but you got to create a day in the life of your customer, like I showed you earlier, and train that to everyone. Number 4 is create a customer experience action statement, like the ones I showed you. Number 5 is create your nevers and always, your non-negotiable list. And number 6, create your relationship building training for it. So that is a detailed call to action of what they need to do. And then finally, you got to have a strong close. It's different than the call to action. This is where you just, you go with a larger vision of what the world will look like. And a lot of times you could just open with imagine 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and then you paint a picture of what their world looks like differently. So the questions we'll ask after our attendees go through the workshop and they give their strong close is, did you see a realistic concept of what could be? Are you inspired to take action? How much do you believe in what you heard versus how much did you believe before you heard this? So how to end your presentation is, do not see the world as it is, but as it might be. Show the audience a bigger picture, a broader set of responsibilities implied by your work, your call to action. You are a revolutionary if and only if you are fascinated by the future, restless for change, impatient for progress, and deeply dissatisfied with the status quo. As a revolutionary, you are never satisfied with the present because in your head, you can see a better future. And the friction between what is and what could be burns you, stirs you, and propels you forward. Let's go start a revolution. Thank you. Okay, let's wrap up this episode with my mantra, living an extraordinary life so countless others do. Another one of my favorite quotes: people can say what their goals are, but the way they live their life proves it. The choices we make every day says it all. Some people want to achieve greatness on their own terms. So what's convenient for them? Greatness isn't about convenience. It's a drive to do more than you could have, more than anyone else is willing to do. Stop talking about it and start proving it by what you are willing to do. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast, and live an extraordinary life so countless others do.